Welcome back to the Tiny Game Hanger. This is Mike, and I'm coming at you with a weekly news and review for March 14th, 2021. And most people would say, ain't nothing changed but the day, but literally today, time is a-changing with all of these updates, all of these reveals that we're about to talk about coming up. First off, what's new at Show Z? Well, we have pre-orders up for New Age's version of Devastator, and they have 3 sets of 2, no price, only like $1 or $2 down to get a pre-order on these in there. And I'm kind of curious what the price will be. When we do know the price, will be kind of interesting to see with the set. I'm guessing 50 to 60%, which would make it $150 to $180 for the entire Devastator, and I'm hoping I'm right. And of course, Magic Square themselves, they have theirs up for the first set, and no price there, a couple bucks to put it down, $2, $3 to put down on the first 2 of theirs. And I'm guessing they're going to be sets of 2. Magic Square sets of 2 limbs were $50 for the pair. I'm hoping it's the same. Who knows? We'll find out shortly. And there'll be more pictures of Magic Square coming up later in this news. Next up, we have pre-order for the Zhang Zing JX MB01B Cold Dragon RID Cryotech. $5 down, not sure the price. I think the previous one was 200 plus on that. I don't remember exactly. But the thing is that this is a good figure. It gets us into the first masterpiece figure we're going to talk about. I have the red one, and I think the red one is great. This figure looks great in both modes. If you're in on Beast Wars, you might be in on this. I mean, I view this as a Beast Wars kind of deal, but the thing is that the only problem I really had with the first one, the red one, was a slight bit of paint chipping, but that's only if you're not ultra careful. You got to be ultra careful with something painted head to toe like this, painted as well as this, but the very minor paint chipping is not even noticeable that I had with mine, but you do have to be careful if you're getting in on this, and if you're spending that much money on a figure like this. Next up, we have the TFC Toys, the TSTCO2 Tyrant Dominator Megatron. And this thing's going to be about 9.5 inches tall. Going to be released in the second quarter of 2021. It does look big, mean, and beefy. He does look to have some cannon options going on right there. Not exactly sure where this design came from, but it is kind of interesting. And of course, TFC Toys making a big boy. Here's the alt mode for it. Looks like it's got 3 cockpits, so you got 3 little driver's seat areas in there, so that kind of looks cool. Just armed to the gills with missiles and guns and all this stuff going on. That's TFC Toys, and moves us into the next TFC Toys project. This is the TFC Toys S04 Lucifer G1 Cutthroat prototype, and it looks good. Look at the colors of this thing. Now, again, this is the smaller size, smaller scale of a combiner, and it's old school TFC, so it's scale with itself. But I think it looks really good. Looking at this, here he is double wielding some sort of swords. That looks great too. They match the wings exactly. That looks really awesome. Just very impressive looking. Just the color scheme, and I kind of always like the color scheme of this particular character. Here he is in his alt mode, his bird mode, I guess that's what you want to call that thing, and it's wild and crazy, but looks pretty much right on with what it should look like. And also the arm mode. So here's what the arm mode looks like when it's going to be in combined mode. Looking pretty good. This set's going to shape up really well for that size and that scale. So we have, I don't know if it's a reissue or I don't know how, but TF Source is getting their hands on some more of the MMC Sphinx, and if this is the figure that you prefer or you want to get, then you want to get in on this. $99.99, kind of the same price it's always been. This thing hasn't gone up in price, but again, they don't have to do any more tooling, and they've made this 90 times already, so it's coming back out again for $99.99. Since I'm mentioning the MMC Sphinx, that's the one on the left, I also should mention the Transform Element, which is kind of selling out at most places, but you can still get it at Show Z. The thing about this is that I like the Transform Element better than the MMC in bot mode, but the MMC seems more solid and a bit better in alt mode. So it kind of depends on what your preference is, what you want the most. If you want it for bot mode, I would go Transform Element. If you want it in alt mode, I'd go MMC. So there you go. So this week I've heard the rumor swirling more and more about a Fans Toys FT29T reissue, their Quietus, and I have to say that there's no official update on this yet whatsoever. But now the rumor's swirling around about August of 2021. Again, rumor, we heard about this back in November at first, and it kind of confuses me too, because it would take little or next to nothing for Fans Toys to put this guy back out the way I believe they put it out. So right now, rumor, and it's not been confirmed by Fans Toys, this figure is even on the way or is even coming, and I would not put my bets on it just yet, but wouldn't it be nice? For those of you following Kane Toys in their Masterpiece version of the Combiner Predaking, they're actually making a Legends version, or this is a picture that came out of their Legends iteration of the same thing. So sliding into some Legends from Masterpiece. There's not much Masterpiece news this week, but looking at this, it looks pretty good. It looks like they're pretty much going to do the same thing they did in Masterpiece in Legends scale. Interesting to see how it shapes up. Interesting to see when the first one comes out, getting it compared to the Masterpiece side by side. That would be very interesting to see how well it does. Here is this on, I guess, on their Masterpiece that's painted up. So looking pretty interesting right there. Would have been nice to get side by sides with their own Masterpiece versions, but looking slightly different actually if you just look at the head on there. So a couple of differences, a couple of different things here, but still kind of exciting, kind of interesting, and makes me wonder, well, what about Magic Square? Why isn't Magic Square doing the NP scale and the Legend scale? Why can't they continue that? I'd love to see it. Okay, Magic Square is putting out more pictures of their figures to make their Devastator, and here is Scrapper, and this one looks pretty good. Again, right in line with the style and the aesthetic that Magic Square always goes for. Looks really good. I mean, if you like the Magic Square aesthetic, you're gonna love this set. And he also looks clean from the back. I mean, that's a nice looking bot. The lower legs, the little bit kind of scrunched up in there, and maybe something should have covered that. But again, we always give that kind of little bit of stuff a pass in Legends to kind of keep the engineering down. And hey, it still looks good. Now, here he is in his alt mode, and it's a nice looking alt mode. It's a good looking alt mode. It's not a perfect looking alt mode, but I still like the way it looks. I still think it gets the job done. And of course, the alt mode does carry over a bit into the leg mode. Here we are in the leg mode, and again, a great looking leg mode. Pretty clean looking mode there. Of course, they are going to be using some sort of parts forming with this. I'm guessing they have to do some sort of magic with that parts forming to make it look so good. And how good's it going to look? Well, here we are with some gray prototype everything else, and these first two figures that are coming out in the set looking pretty good at the lower area. The whole thing's going to look good in my opinion. I think last week all we really had, or all I really had, were 3D renders, and so that's kind of good to get them in real world, and this is how it's going to look in real world. Pretty exciting. And if this thing, the whole thing, start to finish is $150, like $50 per set of two, and that would be 6 figures, that's a pretty good price. Yeah. So we got a picture of Magic Square's Shockwave. We only had 3D renders before, and now we've got a real world version here in front of us. This thing looks amazing. I think Magic Square's killing it, just killing it. I like the aesthetic. I do like the little bit extra beefiness that they have to him, and this guy looks great. He just looks great. They're not grape, great. Speaking of Magic Square killing it, we have their version of Perceptor coming up. This is a prototype that we see of Perceptor, and he looks good. Like, again, Magic Square, why are you not putting these things out in the MP scale also? I just don't think the margin's there for them, but I think they should revisit that. I think they should relook at that. Legends are vastly cheaper, I guess, because you're using about a third of the plastic, but it looks great, and I'd love to see it Masterpiece scale. Here's a colored version. I think this is their actual render, not an actual prototype digibashed, but I might be wrong on that, so Anyhow, this thing looks good. Like, just looking at it and seeing where they're going with it. Like, I wonder if they're going to do the clear chest plate and all of that. But, yeah, massive step up from Mr. Moon. Definitely. But why not MP? Mech Fans Toys doing what Mech Fans Toys does. Cracking out another triple changer. And this is Poison. Not the group Poison, but the Octane Poison. Mechanic Toys, whatever. Mech Fans Toys, Mechanic Toys, Mechanic Studios. They kind of all go about the same name. We know they're the same people. Here we go with the alt mode in the airplane, and that looks good. Nice looking clean airplane mode. You can still see the wheels in the very back by the tail fin. I mean, there's a couple of things. It does kind of taper off and get real skinny in the back too. But we're not really splitting hairs here. It is Legends. The truck mode looks pretty good. You can see the wings on the side. And that's kind of something you see with every one of these Octanes. You always see wings on the side, but still good looking in all modes. Gets the job done. I'm really happy with pretty much everything they put out themselves lately and their own designs. This is their own design, and I love that they're making their own designs and not just knocking off everyone. So there's an interesting project that I know very little about. It's called the STL or ST Life project, and it's supposed to be a Soundwave, and this is his hand, and that's a 12-ounce can of zero sugar Coke. Well, here's the hand holding the Coke can. That's going to be huge. We've kind of seen some projects like this in the past, and you can tell these pieces are all 3D printed, but again, how big is this going to be? What's going on with it? Is this just like a proof of concept? Hey, I can do this, so I'm doing it. We've seen these projects in the past, and we're going to watch this thing shape up as it goes. Now, getting into some mainline stuff, there have been a lot of sightings this week of stuff starting to show up during this kind of semi-dry spell we've had for a while. But looking at this, I found this. This is my picture of... this is 20 Grimlocks, of the Studio Series Grimlocks, in one Walmart. And there's 4 or 5 more down on the shelf. This is just the riser. And I had to get a picture of that. I had to snap a picture of that. I was really shocked. I actually got mine at Target, and I used the 25% off coupon, and it was like 36 bucks. So I was pretty pleased with that. And this is a pretty cool looking figure. So this is a lot. And some Walmarts have 0. Some Walmarts seem to have never gotten one in. And this one's sitting on 25 of these. Okay, so more sightings. We're seeing the actual Kingdom version of Ultra Magnus showing up in Walmarts, and there it is. There's proof. So if you're in on this one, then start looking out for it. And we've also got sightings here of some more figures coming out for the War for Cybertron Netflix series as a Walmart exclusive. And we've seen some of these before, but we're going to see more pictures here in a second. So we've got in-package pictures of the deep cover Autobot here. Blue, nice redeco. He looks good. We kind of saw him, a couple pictures surface in the past of him, but here he is in the flesh or bot, ready to go, looking good. That's a nice looking color. Here is the Rust Sparkless bot, and there he is looking good too. An interesting reuse of this. Of course, if you saw the show, it makes sense to you. And I think some people have gotten a hold of this and even done reviews of this guy. Here's the Army drone, and it's kind of based off of the Ironhide and Ratchet. So there he is, looking pretty cool with an interesting color scheme. But we got some new business going on with the Netflix, only at Walmart figures here. So we have this Sparkless Seeker, and he's going to come with 2 kind of Target Masters. Again, like we've seen with the other ones before, same type of deal. If you want to just get these Siege Seekers, the Tetrajets, and just keep racking up all the different colors and paint schemes, you can do that here. And still, this whole gimmick with the Target Master and the accessories and the shooting of it looks good, but is this too much, too many, or are people excited for this? This actually is a really good idea right here, and I mean, if they're still sticking with the $40 price point, you're getting the Optimus Prime, and you're getting at the same time Rat Trap. Did I say that wrong? Optimus Primal and Rat Trap. And so I think it's kind of a good combination in here. Have both of the figures. That's cool. That's good. Decent repack. Of course, these are available in other forms already, and they're easy to get in the Kingdom. So one's a core class, and then one's a Voyager. But the price point is the same. either way you go with them. And then looking at them loose here, I'm not sure what the paint difference is. So there's supposed to be some sort of paint app differences in it. So side by side, I got to look at them a little bit deeper. I haven't done that so deep, but I'm sure there is some differences. I'm sure there's some paint app differences. So I'm not sure which one you'd prefer. So you kind of like look at them and say, which one do I prefer? Which one do I want to get? Or both. Generation Select is also coming out with the G2 Ramjet. And this is some interesting color. I like the color of this. So again, Seekers, getting Seekered out, all the different Seeker colors. Or you can look at it from another perspective. We're getting some interesting stuff that we don't usually get. We don't usually see it in the mainline. We don't usually see all these different recolors. The G2 recolor paint scheme is actually pretty awesome. That's an amazing looking paint scheme right there. Looking right here, this is the alt mode. Exactly what you'd expect to see in the alt mode of the cone head. Looks great. So we've been seeing a lot of pictures of the Kingdom Dinobot, and it feels like this thing's coming out soon or already out, or so many people have their hands on it already. I haven't seen it yet, so for me it's still not out. But here's the Dino mode with his weird looking claw paw hands there. That is kind of strange looking. Here he is in his packaging outside. That's kind of an interesting ordeal also within itself. And another look at this guy. Really good pictures coming out. And he does look good. But the best picture of all, so maybe it's not high res or anything, but it gives you an idea of the size versus the masterpiece. So for me, in my mind, this is a pretty cool picture. Now, yeah, it's not the greatest picture ever. Touch Toys, I'm not sure who Touch Toys is, got a really good picture for us of these side by side. And I think that it's a lot bigger than I thought it'd be. Or maybe the masterpiece is smaller than I'm thinking. But either way, that's a pretty good size for a $30 figure next to what was like a $250 figure. So you're getting a bang for your buck, definitely. And lastly, there's something I don't have enough information on to speak about other than this picture. It's the SH Song SS01, and it's called the Imperial Destruction Dragon. Now, I don't know if this is going to be Masterpiece, if this is going to be Legends, if this is going to be where this is going to fit. But it's interesting, it's exciting. I'm kind of hoping it's Masterpiece, but I didn't put it in the Masterpiece because I didn't know. So we put it as an in for something kind of fun. Before we get into other news, I just want to show this Ollie's. And it's fun to go to this Ollie's because it used to be, you get 3 guesses. It's Toys R Us. Yes, it used to be a Toys R Us. And it was just rebranded to an Ollie's and making good use of the facility. I'm happy that they left the stripes on there. They left it looking like the building used to. I'm sure that was for cost purposes, but it's just exciting that this is a Toys R Us. I know it used to be a Toys R Us. Fun to go to that Ollie's. Although, you know, I was kind of hoping they'd have something like a Scorponok or something like that. No, nothing really good there at the time I went, but still kind of cool. So Hasbro announced that for the Retro collection, they're actually going to put out the Ecto-1. This was a point of contention that the plasma version of Ecto-1 is going to be for a the 3 3/4 inch scale, and really nothing fit the vintage or the retro. They are making the retro one here. Now, I got to look into detail about what the differences are between them, but it looks really close to the original. Just really close. Close enough for me, and for $50, it's pretty good. They're also going to be accompanied with 2 more ghosts. They're going to be getting the Fearsome Flush and the Bug-Eye Ghost. And NECA is putting out the Turtles in Disguise 4-pack, and basically it's the original 4 turtles in the original colors, not the brighter green colors, but more of the darker colors, and they're getting the trench coats and a disguise, hats, faces, pizzas, and stuff like that. It's supposed to be $125, justifying the cost with all the extra accessories that they didn't include the first time. Also justifying the cost, they're not making you buy like a foot soldier or anything. You could just get them, all 4 of them, all in one shot. So we're getting some vintage collection figures for the Lucasfilm 50th with the Princess Leia and Endor here. And there's supposed to be a lot more information coming around the 50th stuff that's coming out. But anyway, vintage collection. Head sculpt on Leia always is a bit of a challenge, but I do like how they separated the helmet and put it up top, sort of like you'd expect with vintage collection. I like that. It still doesn't quite look like a vintage packaging for the bubble area, but I'll take what I can get, I guess. Looking at Poplu here, Ewok, I mean, it's great. This is the interesting one here that first showed up on a Jedi card back in the Kenner era, and they came out on the Power of the Force card, and this character always gets lumped into Power of the Force, so this one actually truly should be on the Jedi card, and if that's how you want to get it with first release, that's the way to go. Also, we're getting the ATST driver. We've gotten the ATST driver a few times in different iterations here, so this card back looks nice, it looks good, it gets the job done, and, well, who doesn't need more ATST drivers? But if you have an ATST, it already came with the driver. Yeah, I know. Who's really going to open this? You buy this mostly for the packaging. So we've got more pictures of the Hasbro Pulse Jet Trooper. Seemed like I got the reveal of it, and then the pictures came out the day of my news that I already had the news made. So I didn't have these pictures in it. So here we go. And looks pretty good. There's the packaging of it. Here is the actual figure itself. And, you know, it's kind of cool. It's kind of good. Is this what you're in for? Do you like different variety of troopers to have in there? Because if so, this is for you. Or do you want to have an army of stormtroopers that look exactly the same? I mean, it seems like a little variety would be kind of fun. Now, Black Series Bo-Katan, I have a feeling this is going to be a really hard figure to get. Like right now, getting the Darkseid Ray is a challenge. That case shows up, and within 30 seconds, Darkseid Ray's gone, and the rest of them are now just peg warming. Believe it or not, there are some peg warmers out there. But Bo-Katan is probably going to be the same way. It's going to be Bo-Katan and Asajj Ventress coming out of this next wave. And when that wave hits, those two figures will sell right away. So how do you get your hands on one of these without being there right when the case is put out? Just pre-order it through GameStop like I did. It's $22.99, and you'll be sure to get one. And then past that, maybe if you want to get a second one to open or something, and you randomly come across one, that's cool. Or pre-order too. When you're scrambling here in April or whenever this comes out, and you can't get one, remember, I gave you the advice on how to get one. So this past week, there was supposed to be some way that you could advise Hasbro on which figures to repack into the Vintage Collection. Because obviously they want to do a lot of repacks in here. So what do you want repacked? Well, I missed this, so I'm kind of curious, what would you want repacked? I personally am kind of tired of repacks in here. But a lot of good ideas are stuff that was part of Legacy, never saw a Vintage Collection, and we're coming on 200 soon. What's 200 going to be? There's a lot of questions out there for the Vintage Collection line, and 200 is quite a bit of figures. So let me know what you think about this week's Weekly News in Review. What interesting stuff is going on out there that I seem to miss, because I'd really like to know. Please put it in the comments below, like and subscribe, and Tidarium Hanger out.